Baptism is a physical representation of a spiritual reality, just like all the ordinances are. It's no different from the Passover feast. During the first Passover feast in ancient Egypt, the angel of death passed over the Israelites and commenced judgment on the Egyptians. In later generations, when the Israelites would partake of the Passover feast, the angel of death wasn't coming back to pass over them again. But that physical feast reminded them of the spiritual reality that they had lived through. It reminded them of what God had done in their lives and is continuing to do. In the same way, the Lord's Supper is an ordinance. And even though when we partake of the Lord's Supper, Jesus isn't physically there with us about to be crucified, it reminds us of the spiritual reality of what He did for us on the cross. Baptism is no different. Although there is no magical properties in the water, that physical gesture of being submerged in the water just as Jesus was put in the grave, and then being raised up to a new way of life just as Jesus rose from the grave, reminds us of that spiritual reality. But just because there are no mystical properties in the ordinance of baptism doesn't mean it's not important. In fact, baptism is one of the first things that Jesus immediately commands His followers to do. What that means is that if you believe in Jesus Christ, but you've never participated in believer's baptism, you are actually in active disobedience from God right now. The reason why God takes this so seriously is because baptism isn't just for the baptizee. It's meant to be done corporately with the church. You see, when someone gets baptized in the local church, they are committing publicly that they are a follower of Jesus Christ. And the church is committing publicly to help that person in their spiritual walk. They are entering into a covenant relationship with the rest of the body of Christ. And it was so important to God that He instituted this ordinance of baptism so that all of us remember we are one family of God and we have all died to the old self and been raised to a new way of life.